Oki, Sinatapi, Nistuni Doniko Makoyo Sakoyi, and I am welcoming you to Wellness Wednesday with Native Wellness Institute. And I'm not screaming and yelling because I'm at the Kalispell Airport, about ready to board a plane to San Francisco. So, welcome to Wellness Wednesday, Native Wellness Institute. We always bring uplifting, positive, productive dialogue just for this 1 hour, like a power hour, so that we can think about our wellness and our healing. And I decided to come on. I um, I just went to the dermatologist yesterday, and in my family we have a strain of basal cell carcinomas, which are non-invasive skin cancer. And so that's why I have these band-aids on. I was teasing my friends that dropped me off at the airport here that I look all domestic, eh? But it's just me. It's Theta. Everything's cool. I'm not in a domestic. But I just wanted to welcome you to Wellness Wednesday, and I want to share some dialogue with you today around healing with LGBTQ two spirit relatives. It's just an amazing time. 2024 Native Wellness Institute. We're gearing up for a lot of big events, collaborative with Native Dads Network, with White Bison, with Al Pooley's Fatherhood and Families Association. But I'm headed to Bates, which is the Bay Area American Indian Two Spirit events. It's a week-long event. And our contribution starts tomorrow. And we're offering a large talking circle making medicine pouches. And Aurora Mamea and April McGill, who heads up the San Francisco village, is gathering the space and gathering all of our leather punches, and we're all bringing medicine. I just wanted to. So I'm just having. So our contribution tomorrow is this healing circle, but I wanted to. So I went and gathered fresh sweet pine that grows around my house. I gathered what they call high cedar in Wind River Canyon in Wyoming. My mother gathered sage up on Going to the Sun Road. There's flat cedar. I'm just thinking about, I got a whole suitcase of medicines. We have chaga. We have everyday medicine like sage and sweetgrass and tobacco. And we're going to make medicine pouches with two-spirited our femme identity. And so that will be happening tomorrow in the city of San Francisco, and April McGill and Aurora are putting that together. But I just wanted to visit with you a little bit. And if you're just joining us, this is kind of interesting. I was just telling my friend, this is part of, I'm an elder and I get all my checkups. And elders, we get our colonoscopies, we get our blood work, so everything, mammogram, pap and pelvic, all that, everything's worked out good, except I had some areas in which they took a biopsy, and we'll know in a couple of weeks, and it's non-invasive. I'm not going to die. I don't feel like I'm going to die, but I wanted to come on because we have a commitment, and it's a responsibility to come on and talk about wellness. So I wanted to start with a story, because story is medicine, and it's a story that I heard about Pita Maka, which is Running Eagle. She's one of our Amskapi Pikani stand-up headdresses, Kami Poismanix. And then I also heard of just a beautiful story this morning from Laverne First Rider, who I have the highest respect for. And Laverne was sharing, and I just want to hold her words sacred. A story of the stand-up headdress that she carries that was great great grandmother's, and then was carried. It's an old headdress by one of their ancestors that was female, but also went into war wearing that headdress. And so my heart, my heart goes, my hand to my heart, because I'm still just reveling, and I really want to thank Laverne for. We're going to talk again, but she had. We were talking because she had always contacted Native Wellness Institute, and that's how you get me to come and speak and get contracts. And so she wanted me to come and speak at the Kainai Board of Education conference that's happening in Lethbridge in a couple of weeks. So that was why we were visiting, but we got to talking about stand-up headdresses. And so I wanted to start with that story of Pita Maka. And I'm talking just in low tone because I'm in a crowded airport and this is a quiet spot, and I don't want to disrupt anyone, and everybody looks at their phone like this. And I just came through security, and it's just funny as heck because I am going to dance in San Francisco at the Bates. So I do have my stand-up headdress because it uplifts. The protocol I was taught is that it uplifts the people in celebration, and healing, and that's my intention. So the story of Pita Makan, I was thinking of it today because as I was coming through the TSA and getting checked, and there was all kinds of weighing of my luggage. But when I put my two jackets in, they stopped me because one of my jackets in the lower pocket, it's kind of like a camouflage INFR jacket, there was a bullet. And I'm just thinking, I wore that jacket in making the film Buffalo Spirit, but it's 147 grain hollow point. But they checked my my jacket, and they were digging in all the pockets, and there's sage in some of my pockets. There's a little crystal, but there was this bullet, but they didn't make a big deal out of it. In fact, they said they took it out, and I said, that's 147 grain hollow point, because that's what I carry when I'm out in the woods, and it's for protection. And they go, no, one is not. If you had 50,000 of them or 1,000 of these bullets, then it would be of concern. I just thought to myself, who checks their luggage with 1,000 bullets? That's not Nistu Makoyo Sequoia. I was just laughing to myself. So, but Pita Maka, I was thinking Pita Maka, I heard a story that when she used to go to war, and she would wear her horseback, and she would wear her stand-up headdress. And there's Terence Gardapi and has a lot of portrayals of that portrait, and so do others. I just saw some really good John Isaiah Peppian just did a stand-up headdress woman horseback. So the story I wanted to just share with you, and the reason I'm sharing it is because how in your tribe, or how in your First Nations, and how in your village did you have respected women that were leaders? Are leaders of yesterday, or leaders today? So Pita Maka, I always had reverence for her stories because I was told that when she was about 15 years old, that her entire family, her parents, had died of smallpox. There was a smallpox epidemic. And so it left her and a couple of her younger brothers and a couple of her younger sisters without parents. And usually back in those days, and now she was around the early 1800s, late seven, and going into the 1800s. And so the tribe wanted to have the children like separated and raised by relatives. And Pita Maka, Running Eagle, had asked if they could stay together. She said, "No, give me a chance. Give me a chance for to run our household." So the boys hunted, the girls tanned hides. There's a lot of work, traveling with the travois, with horses, with and they traveled the route of the Eni, the buffalo. Sometimes it would start down where, where Marias is, and come up. There was no borders, and then they would come up through the border, following the buffalo. They'd go up towards Medicine Hat. They'd come around. They'd gather their medicine, and then they would stay for the Okan, the medicine lodge. They would do all their prayers, and then they would swoop back around. Fall, and by winter be back on Marias. So there wasn't like a Blackfeet just don't live in Browning. there was this migration. So Pita Maka, she was very good. Their household was very well run. They hunted, they were admired, and she was a teenager. And so as she started to the story, as I was told, as she grew up, she asked if she could go, on a raiding, to raid horses. We don't steal things, we just take them. We just take horses. And so she had asked to go, and they said, no, women aren't allowed on these raids. You can't go because you're a woman. So Pita Maka was persistent, and in her persistence, there was a raid that was heading over to what they called the Snake, or the Salish Kootenai, and they were heading over there, and Pita Maka, and it was a night, so they left at night. So she dressed like a man, and she went with the raiding party. And it was still dark, but as they were going along, they discovered that she was with them, and that she was a woman dressed like a man. And there was a lot of debate. There was a lot of, it caused a lot of uproar in that, among that raiding of all the men. And some of the men said, she can't be with us. She needs to go back. And so they again, a lot of times Blackfeet, when they like to make a collective decision, like a collective agreement. And sometimes it takes time. It can't happen quickly. Right now, we're having a lot of discussion on blood quantum, and if the blood quantum should be abolished, and a new definition of a citizen of our nation. That's happening. So it takes a long time. So with Pita Maka, as they were discussing whether she should get to stay or if she should go back home, there was a medicine person there, and this medicine man, he cautioned them. He said, I have a really good feeling, if we should let her come along. We should let her stay and come along with us. And so then, because he was honored and revered, and our medicine leaders, and they're not like, we don't call them medicine men, we don't call them shamans, we don't, they're just people who have earned respect since the time they were little till they became adult. When they earn respect, and so they abided because they looked to his leadership. So Pita Maka, Running Eagle, got to come along with them. And I like this story because it was negotiated. It was all of these English words. So they went on, and when they came upon the tribe, that they were another tribe, they're non-Blackfoot, and they were going to take some of their horses. Pita Macaw volunteered, and she said, "Since you have let me come and honored. Why don't you let me sneak into the camp first? Let me go in and let me earn my way. Again, some more protocol, earn my way." So Pita Macaw, she was really good with horses, and it was under the cover of night, so she snuck into the camp and she cut the lead ropes, and she came back with about 9 horses in quiet. And when she brought these horses back, she instructed all the rest of the raiding party how she went into the camp and where the horses were and how they were tied. So she was like, well, I guess like the scout. So then the men went in under darkness, and they went in and they cut more lead ropes, and they a lot of them, you would say, they had like horse medicine, horse whispers. Yeah, most Blackfeets are horse whisperers, male and female. So they brought several more horses out, and so that was enough. And so the raiding party went back, and there was no bloodshed. There was no bloodshed, and they acquired new horses. So when they got back, and she had another name, and it's not coming to me right now. I think it's not coming to me, but that's when she was transferred her because of that coup story of acquiring all of those horses, and then the raiding party getting all of those horses for Scapi Picani, the Blackfeet. So anyway, when she went back, they used to lulu. I'm not going to lulu here because as I'm in the Kalispell airport, I'm getting ready to board a plane to San Francisco. So when they brought her in, they had a ceremony, and these things are itching. Again, I just had biopsies for basal cell carcinomas, and they're kind of itching because I think they're already healing. So I would just like to share that with you. And so Pita Macaw received her name. And the other stories that I heard, that I always think about that story. And the reason I wanted to start with that story is because what are the stories in your tribe, the stories that you have heard, that your grandmas, that and I'm going to concentrate on the life givers, but also the two spirit and the femme identity. My close relative Roger Prairie Chicken was sharing a word with me, and I haven't grasped it, but he said that we had a word for the best of both worlds. And so I said, does that mean like what some would in English call bisexual or gender fluid? And then, he's saying, what's that? Like, what is it? So we have to really talk about, what do these words mean? He said, no, we had a word. So that means it existed if that word existed for thousands of years. I also have I have a card that I'm carrying with me to the Healing Circle tomorrow, representing Native Wellness Institute. Of all the tribal words for two spirit are for that we had in our own language. It and they translate different. So that was the reason I wanted to share this, because what's happening this week? January 7th. January 6th, there was a kickoff in San Francisco for the Bay Area American Indian Two-Spirit events and powwow that will be happening this Saturday. And I've always been invited because of my allyship. And my allyship is because I raised a daughter that is two-spirited and was bullied and was addicted and has ended up in prison. She's doing good. I do get to talk to her, but I just want to make sure that this doesn't happen to any other young children, that they are bullied, that they are put down, or that they are labeled, or that they're treated as less than. And so I guess, the past, 30 years or so, or even more than that, I've been allying, coming from the Bay Area, with the healing of LGBTQ and Two-Spirit. So I wanted to start with Pete Macabre, that story. But and thank you. I don't read the comments because we just got a short period today. Native Wellness Institute, we've been coming to you since March 2020. So next month for 4 years, all of our team, our executive director is Jillian Joseph, and we have a large staff, and we have a large pool of consultants, and because of ethics, our consultants are all native and not Italian. They might have a smidgen, of Italian, but they're all identify as native, raised as native, and our mission is to keep the teachings of our ancestors alive. So that's what Native Wellness Institute is about. And so in March of 2020, when the pandemic was declared, all of our country stopped traveling. All of our country was in upheaval. So just remember that was 4 years ago, and we try to remind people, because 4 years ago we've just come through a traumatic event that caused a lot of dismay in not only our tribes but our country. So since then we just went Facebook Live, and we went 7 days a week. About a year and a half into it, we went to 5 days a week, and just over the past year or so, we're just doing Wellness Wednesdays, and because we've gone back to in person. I think today we're doing an online adults working with Native youth. But coming up very soon, and we wanted to invite you, and you can register. February 27th, we're going to be at Barbie's Village, and which is in Portland. It's near Portland, and we're going to be doing the Healthy Relationship curriculum. Myself and Mark Harris, Dwight Francisco, and then at the same location, Jillian Joseph and a couple of our other trainers are going to be doing adults working with youth TOT. So come and join us, because Mark Harris he helped write the Gathering of Native Americans from a Black Indian perspective, because he's half African American and half Native. And so he's a professor, 69 years old. He's taught in Eugene, Oregon, and he's retired. And now he's coming to do some work for Native Wellness Institute. So please come join us. The other trainer that will be joining us is from, we call him the TO, the Tohoto O'odham. His name is Dwight Francisco. And I've worked with Dwight for several years with Native American Connections in Phoenix. They have 26 houses of treatment programs. And so Dwight's going to come as a Native man and tell his story. And he works with clean and sober. He works with addictions. He works with individuals who want to heal, who call themselves non-binary, gender fluid. Their pronouns are they and them. So Dwight Francisco, and I'm just really looking. I'll see him tomorrow when I'm getting on a plane. I'm coming to you live from Kalispell, Montana, right now. And this is just Wellness Wednesday. So I guess I'm just visiting with you. And if you just joined us again, I just look in and I go, wow. And these will heal. I just got a biopsy yesterday with my dermatologist, and so say prayers for me, because I feel real positive about it. I think I'm going to heal. So I'm asking for prayers for these biopsies, and if they usually go in and freeze them. My mother has had maybe 20 of these, and so I guess I'm following in her footsteps. And it's also because I'm always out in the sun. I'm always hiking, I'm always outside, and very rarely, most of you know, I'm hiking around in the mountains all the time. Most of you know that I'm out in the woods, or Native Wellness Institute, we do a lot of stuff outside. So I was just thinking, that probably, that I was laughing with the dermatologist. She said you probably should wear a hat and, put all kinds of 50 block on, and I go, but if I wear a hat, I'll look like a tourist. And in my neighborhood, you don't want to look like a tourist. You might get shot. Anyway, but I will, try to be better. They say our largest organ that's alive is our skin. And I was just today, I noticed people look at me differently or treat me different when I checked into the hotel. Like they want to look at you, but they don't want to stare. And so I just tell them, I just went to the dermatologist and got some biopsies. Like I'm not like a domestic, but I went into Panda Express, and there was a two-spirit person in there. And she wanted to make sure I was okay. She started with saying, I really like your braids. You know how like they kind of beat around the bush. And she just kept looking at me like, are you okay? And I should have told her, because when you're looking out your eyes, you don't see how your face looks. So think about that. Like how when children are born, they look out their eyes. And, our people, we never got mirrors until the settlers came over. The only reflection we seen of ourselves was in water. We didn't have mirrors. But now, we do FaceTime. I mean, I'm looking at my... we look in the mirrors. But when you're looking out your eyes, you see the world around you, and you see how people behave around you. And you don't know you look different until people start to treat you differently. So just think about that innocence of a child. If we teach children to treat everyone fairly, if we teach children to be kind, if we teach children to get to know someone in communication, speaking the same language, doing sign language, doing all of the things that we need to do in our world just to get to know each other. And so I'm walking around because, most of my relatives, I want to say a shout out to Leah and Ron Cottonwood, because I'm going to be on the road. I'm heading to Dillingham, Alaska after this, and then I'll be at Colville Reservation working, and then we'll be in Portland working. so I was just, they are going to watch my truck, because I just found out if you park here, it would have been $300 to park here, either at the hotel or at the airport. And I go, oh my God, in Montana, $300 for whatever it was per day, it would add it up. So my friend said, no, you can park at our house. We'll drop you off and pick you up. So thank you, Leah. Thank you, Ron. And those are two of my buddies that I met through Buster Yellow Kidney. And our family sundanced with his bundle. And Ron and Leah always helped and have always been genuinely kind. So I was just trying to, when you're in a town, I always just like, so what kind of crazy dogs are here? What ceremonial people are here? And so I called them up, and that was they said no problem. And I guess that spark bark connects them, and crazy dogs. We always help each other. So the other thing I wanted to share with you today is in San Francisco. This is the 13th annual Bay Area American Indian Two-Spirit Powwow happening on Saturday. There's like a two-spirit baits potluck there. And then tomorrow, and you guys can say prayers for this too, while we're in our talking circle or in our healing circle, They're also going to be doing a water ceremony down by the water, which a lot of time, and that's down by the ocean. They always get buckets, and they take some of the ocean water, and they sing songs. They walk along the ocean and they pray and they say prayers and they sing songs, and then they take the water and they pour it back into the ocean. So it's like praying with the water and then returning it to the ocean. So that ceremony will be going on. There's also on Friday, it's just one of the fun festive. It's festivity. We'll be having all the drag queens will be coming together, and there'll be performance after performance in San Francisco. And so there's just several Bates, that's what they call it, BAAITS, the Bay Area American Indian Two Spirit event, and that's where I'm headed right now. And so I thought I would come on, and I would I was just thinking, because I was having a lot of dialogue with my colleagues about, when you aren't looking your best, and what do you think I look? I think I look okay, but I just have these band-aids and I was thinking, I just am who I am. I try to be transparent. Native Wellness Institute, I got 35 years sober in 10 months. May 3rd, I'll have 36 years sobriety. I still try to work a strong Al-Anon program, Alateen. I started when I was in my teenage years. I also, one of the things and I guess I'm trying to work a recovery of treating self-care. So I think I'll say a few words about self-care. One of the self-care things that happens in January is that we all start to look at our diets. We start to look at our bodies. We start to exercise. And we've spoken about this, trilateral kindness. This morning, I woke up and I was, in my hotel, and I wanted to go down, and I just had my pajamas still on, kind of a little bit bushy. But I had a long conversation with the woman who was taking care of the breakfast area. Lateral kindness, we just had the best visit, just visiting with her. And then, I had that thought is, do some people treat other people less than if they have like a job that, they're the janitor, or they're the cooks, or they used to, they're human beings. They're beautiful people. I found out, that she raised her kids in California. I found out that her kids prefer to live in Montana, that she's just doing part-time work, but just a vibrant person, that she likes to hike in the glaciers. That I just found out all this stuff, and because practicing lateral kindness, you treat everyone fair. You treat this word equity that they throw around. You treat them with kindness. You look into their eyes and you have a visit with them. So that's how my day started. And then it went from there. I had several conversations, like I said, with Laverne, first rider, my elder. And when you're on the phone, and I had to apologize to her, because when you visit with elders, you need 1 or 2 hours. 1 or 2 hours minimum. And if you're going to cook a meal together, you need 3 or 4 hours. I was just thinking, our best time is to go out to lunch, go out to dinner, and spend 3 or 4 hours visiting. And so that is the self-care. So I think I'm going to cut it short today, because I need to they just changed the gate from gate 3 to gate 6. And so I need to go find that. And so in self-care, try visiting. I've been writing some letters, but I'm just calling people, and I just say, hey, how are you doing? And then I listen. Call up someone and say, hey, how are you doing? Sinadapi, how are you? How have you been? I need to catch up because you are important to me. I need to hear what you've been up to. What has worked well. Let people vent. Let people tell you. Just let them describe. Especially if there's a lot of emotion. Let them tell you, hey, how are you? And just let the storytelling begin. I really and so with that, I'm part of self care. We'll check in next Wednesday. We'll be in Dillingham. That's about an hour small airplane ride from Anchorage. I'll be working with Mike Duncan. He's going to be working with all the men, and I'll be working with the women in a talking circle. And then we're going to do some forgiveness stuff together. And we're going to map out healing for that community for 2024. That's just the things that we do. So if you want to, all of the power hours, they're free. We give all of these are free on YouTube. You can go, all of our team, we have about 500 of them. But if you want something specific, you can go to www.nativewellness.com and tell us what you're looking for, and we can either invite you to a training that's already scheduled, or we can design it ourselves. So we got and so the last thing I'll share with you, in June, the third annual Healing Together is going to be on Bainbridge, Suquamish Nation, June 11th, 12th, and 13th. And it's going to be White Bison, Katari, Koyas, and her staff. It's going to be Native Dads Network, Albert, Mary, Mike Duncan, all of their staff. It's going to be NAFA, which is the Native American Fathers and Families Association, Al Pooley Shop, and Native Wellness Institute. We're coming together, and NWI is the host. So there's going to be a lot of good surprises. So we're just so with that, I'm just going to say we never say, Indians never say goodbye, but I'm going to say Kitakito Matsuno, and hey, Julie Smith. So we'll be seeing you later, and with that, I'll see you next Wednesday.